Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
And we have another author again, someone you've heard before, but I really wanted him to come back because he has something very special to talk about. And it's actually the name of the book, and hopefully you remember, it's called One in the Same. It's a little strange name unless you read the book, and then you would understand why. It's Journey from Mortal to Sorcerer. And I don't know any sorcerers, but I think they all seem to be evil to me, but they're not right. Our sorcerers aren't evil, are they?
No, not especially not in the book.
This one. That's true. So, and let's just cover this again in case people hadn't really heard you before. So, Douglas Breeden is the author, and Douglas has quite a educational background. Why don't you talk a little bit about your background, because that makes this all seem even more important.
I started out. I went to Palm Beach Junior College for 2 years. I was 3 credits short of a AA because the one class they offered was at 7:30 in the morning in Belgrade, and I wasn't going to go out there for one class. But then I went on to Palm Beach Atlantic, where I got a BA in history and education. And then later on, actually in the late 90s, I took courses in funeral service. I have an AS in that. And then I fulfilled kind of a dream by getting an MA, a master's in history from Florida Atlantic University.
That's not easy. That's fabulous that you did that.
They have a very, very good history course down there. And I very much enjoyed it. The classes were challenging. And my professor, Dr. Lowe, who was my advisor, because my thesis is on mid-Tudor England, and his is Renaissance and Reformation. I call him the most patient man in the world because he did my editing, which I should have tried to stay awake more in English class, I guess. But that was my education. And from that, I started a blog to keep my writing skills up, and the blog developed into 3 ebooks, and then finally I did this one.
Okay, so now you write a book. So you never took a class on book writing.
No, I didn't.
So it must have just come naturally, because I think I told you when I first spoke to you that I love the idea, because we don't really see that in books. So one character speaking, and that chapter says that name. Then the next chapter says the name of the person. Sometimes you get very mixed up. You don't know who's talking, but it's about that particular person. It was very
right. So
you did create some things. Maybe if you had taken book writing, you wouldn't have done that, unfortunately.
I don't know. When I started writing, I don't outline, and Dr. Lowe pointed that out to me, and then he said, "Well, your draft is your outline." So as I would write a few paragraphs, and then I would get into the one character and then jump into the other. So instead of combining them, I just made them separate chapters.
Well, that kept me from being confused, because the thing about your book could be very confusing, because you take people from one place to another, and that's the sorcerer part, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, actually, Archway, my publisher, had a part in that, because they said, what are the chapters? And I'm like, I don't know. So I just split them up that way, and they were happy with it, so I was.
Right. Well, you did write something very, very good. Why don't we talk a little bit? Why don't, in your... we always talk about elevator speeches. In an elevator speech, as you know, it's a speech about something from the time it takes to go from one floor, all the floors you're on, to the bottom. And I know how I would describe it, but how, as an author, how would you describe your book?
My book is kind of a journey through the minds of 2 individuals. One, Alexander, is the mentor, and he's dealing with some things, and he gets his chance to mentor a new sorcerer, which in the sorcerer world is a big deal. The other one is Michael. Michael is a young Asperger student who is on a personal journey trying to figure out how his world works when he finds out his other destiny, which is to be a sorcerer, which he never thought. And as I took him through that journey, I try to go through both perspectives. to show each individual the things they're going through apart and together to bring the story around.
That's well done. And as you were speaking, I was wondering if other people like you were as a guide, or what, there's another name that you used.
The school board calls them paraprofessionals. Others call them aides. And there's a lot of names.
If any of those people have read your book, because I would think they would enjoy reading about what you did.
I think it did. I plugged it to all my comrades out at the school.
So there
is
aware
a group.
Of it. There is a group of people like that.
Yeah.
Because I would think that they would say, oh, yeah, look what he did. Because they may have their own stories.
Oh, I'm sure they do. It's working with these students is just, well, when you have the right kid, you can have a child with a lot of behavioral problems that can be very hard. But with the vast majority of them, it's just a wonderful thing. You have more fun than work, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Was there an actual Dr. Asperger? Is that how the name came?
Actually, I believe there was. It was diagnosed, I believe, like in the 30s or 40s. At one point, and the book goes into it.
I thought I had read that.
Because Alexander was diagnosed with it, and at the time they blamed the mother, and you see his struggles with that. Later on, they find that they actually said it was the mother withholding affection, which can be more devastating to the mother than the child. Later on, you see that the diagnoses are different, and you see that Michael has not had to have that struggle with this. Plus, the Alexander's mother also had another child that she never told him about, and he struggles with that a bit too. And actually, the child turned out to be his cousin, and that comes from the fact that, in the 40s, you didn't become a single mother. Somebody else raised the child.
Yes.
And he deals with that. And you see Michael dealing with a different set. One of his problems has been bullying, which is very different in Michael's time than in Alexander's. Take me, for example. If I were bullied in what was then junior high, when I got on the bus and went home, the bullying stayed away. For the student I worked with in the school, when he got on the bus in what is now middle school, through social media, it follows him home. So you see the difference in things they had to deal with and things that came up and how they were dealt with. And you do get to see a bit of the differences in how things were done in the late 60s, early 70s, as compared as they are done today.
That's really true. And I was thinking about how many people 50 years ago maybe had this, and they were put in padded cells, or they...
Well, they actually think Albert Einstein had Asperger's. And that's how he was able to focus so much on the on math. You can see a lot of the Asperger kids have they have a focused subject that they love, and my student was very focused in on the animals and ecology and environmental stuff and evolution in that. In fact, when he was in his honors biology class, the teacher allowed him to actually teach the class on the descent of man and on the periods of Earth's evolution, because he knew so much about that. Also, when he was a freshman, he was doing a project with two girls, and they were doing a timeline, and he's drawing all the animals actually in proportion. She did just really beautiful work. And the one girl asked the other girl who knew him from middle school, and she says, "Is he going to let us do anything?" And she said, "No, just be quiet. This is an A. We'll just color on the top and the bottom, and we don't have to worry about it."
Yeah, so it's taken a lot of learning, but the fact that you wrote the book about it, the one and the same. So anyone listening, if you have a relative, your own child or a husband or somebody, you ought to read the book. it's fascinating because it doesn't dwell on negative parts of Asperger's. It dwells
No.
on the excitement, the sorcerer part about
Yeah.
being able to go 1 minute you're here and the next minute you're back in the Middle Ages and you're doing.
It's the idea that it's based on a theory that there's 10 dimensions, and a sorcerer can go in all 10. And a sorcerer can also, he's one of the very, very few creatures that can be at two places at once. And this way, Michael learns about how Palm Beach has the world that you see every day, plus another world, because it's near like a portal for both to heaven and hell. And there's a lot of otherworldly and extraterrestrial creatures that live in the place that the establishment kind of covers up because they're making a lot of money on tourism. And he learns of a world where there's like werewolves and vampires and other creatures, space aliens from like 3 different other parts of the galaxy, and all these things, and he gets to meet them. They're not covered as much in there. If you go to my blog or my other book, Tales Under the Palms, and read my short stories, you'll get individual stories about all these individual creatures, and you'll get to learn more about them.
Well, the reason this is so fascinating is that it's in your mind. You know, that's the wonderful part about this. It's so tell us again how they get to your blog.
It's called Mr. B's blog. It's in a WordPress. WordPress is a free blogging site where you can blog once an hour to once every 10 years, and they just leave you alone.
But if they go on to Google, and what do they put in?
You can type in Mr. B's blog. It'll come up. There's 2 of them. There's another Mr. B's blog. The other one's on math. That's not mine. But you can just see mine is different stories and essays. I have several essays, historical essays, and that in there. And there's a lot of them. I've been blogging. I found out the other day for almost 5, 6, 7 years, and I
really
realized,
I didn't know that blogging was that 6 years ago. I didn't realize it was.
I did it because after spending 3 years writing my thesis, I didn't want my writing skills to go away, which they can if you don't use them. So I just started writing a blog. I at first was just going to write everything, and then I got into historical essays because that's what I do. And then I started making up stories, and each story began to relate to each other, and it's evolved. There's over 100 posts there.
And have you had a lot of comments?
I have a lot of comments. I get more. They show you how many I get.
But have you read them?
Yes. I get to read all of them. A lot of them are spam things that you just delete.
Yeah.
Well, you know how the internet is. And
but what have some of them said? Are you some people that stick with you?
Yeah, that the writing's good. They enjoyed it. They like the subject. I've never really had a negative one, although I'm sure.
Well, they wouldn't write if it. I mean,
probably not,
well, unless it was something mean or that you had done. But you're not a mean writer. So these people are blogging, and you can write them back, and the 2 of you can have a conversation.
You can have a
then other
conversation.
people get involved.
I also, on my Facebook page, I post a link to it once or twice a week, or if anytime I put a new one in, it posts a link on Facebook and Twitter.
Well, why don't I do this? I'm going to take a picture of you right now. I have another one. I'm going to do this, and then you can. We'll send it to you so that you can put it on with the radio.
Oh, okay.
Send it. Right.
Sure.
We want you to do that. I mean, I know that I have, others, but I want to just do that for you. So while you're talking, I'll just put this on there, and people then can go to your blog.
My blog, which is Mr. B's it's the blog website thing is called marktaran@wordpress.com. It's easier to Google Mr. B's blog. The book is on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Books A Million. And I have the 3 ebooks are all on Amazon. 2 of them are called Tales Under the Palms. They're basically my fictional blog posts. And another one I named Philosophy in Life, which I hate the title, but it's what I put in. And it's some of my historical essays.
So your education has really served you well.
Yes, it has. And a lot of it, I went to college. I wanted to be a teacher, but when I graduated, it was in the middle of a recession, and I didn't get a teaching job, and I fell into working with the county, which is easy to do because it's very routine, and the secret is you don't really have to do a lot. And then I got a pension from the county. But I have worked with kids. I work at the Palm Beach County Youth Football League. I've worked there almost over 30 years, and I've also coached youth baseball.
And I haven't asked you, do you have children? I don't know if you...
Yes, I have a daughter. She has cerebral palsy. She lives in Arbondale on her own, and she's a mental health counselor. She has a master's in that.
Fabulous.
Yes. She's also fully licensed, and she counsels drug addicts.
You know, Doug, every time I meet you, there's more that it's like peeling an onion. I keep getting more.
Yeah, people say it's amazing to watch the little girl rolling around in her wheelchair, ordering these drug addicts around, and they listen.
She probably has made a difference because they look at her and say, look what she can do.
Yeah.
And I can help myself. Yeah. Oh, that's a...
Plus she doesn't take any nonsense off of them.
How spiritual. How beautiful that is.
She's enjoyed that. She got on a mission to do that when she was in high school, and she has continued on that through today.
So you helped her, and this is beautiful. You know,
yeah, I don't know how she turned out so well. I think she looked at me and said, "No, I'll do the opposite."
No, I don't think that's true. Maybe there's a book about her sometime.
There might be. I don't dare write it because she might kill me.
No, I would think the spirit part of who she is, she would love something like that.
She inspired one of the characters in there, the one guidance counselor. And the other ones I just kind of made up. They're combinations of people I've known or known of and stuff like that.
Right, but I do think that someone like that, it would be an honor to write about her. Why not? You know, she won't. Yeah. She wouldn't be upset, and you have the skills to do it. It is your daughter, and you can name her something else.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful story, huh? See, I didn't know that. Didn't know that. Have you ever put her into your blog?
A couple times I've based some characters on her, but I've never written a specific blog post about her. No.
Well, maybe now's the time to do it.
I may get an email tonight demanding one too. So.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So you really have had a nice life, and what I like about you is that you have taken your experiences and you've made good things happen with them. And it's funny, a lot of people don't realize that one little thing that you may have said or written could change someone's life.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, and I've heard so many stories of this where people have said, I've had people say I was on the verge of killing myself, and somebody came up to me and said, "Oh, you're looking great today," and suddenly I realized, no, I don't want to kill myself. So,
yes, I've heard those kinds of stories also.
Yeah,
in fact, I heard a story. I don't remember. I think it was the doctor that told me, but someone was walking across, and I don't know what bridge it was, but it was a big bridge, and they were really thinking about jumping off and killing themselves, and the person walking the other direction just stopped and said, "Well, good morning."
Yeah.
Something that simple. And it turned out, though, that the person that got saved told me the story. And that's so whenever you're places saying hello or doing something, sometimes, I walk my dog late at night sometimes, and someone walking by, I don't know, person could be not so nice, but I always assume they are. Say hello. Yeah. They're very nice, and you never know, so.
Well, I enjoyed working in the high school, and it was fun working with a lot of those kids. Are fabulous. I know some of them get bad reputations, and there are a few that are, troublemakers, but the vast majority are really wonderful kids.
So I'm talking to, and you've been listening to Douglas Breeden, Breeden. He wrote the book One in the Same, Journey from Mortal to Sorcerer. And you can get the book. You can actually go to Amazon.com. Archway Publishing is the company that published it. And also, he has a blog, Mr. B's
blog.
Mr. B's blog.
Highly original.
Highly original. That's right. And so, but you are on Facebook also.
Yes, I'm on Facebook and Twitter.
Isn't that funny? I don't do anything on Twitter. What do you do on Twitter?
Somebody told me to advertise my book on there, so I jumped on there. I now have like 2,500 followers, and I have no idea how I got them.
No, wait a minute. Stop.
No, I jumped on there. I put up my book advertising, and you get a little thing that says, oh, these people you might want to follow. So I hit follow, and I guess they follow me back. And every now and then I get these people that follow me, but I don't understand Twitter at all.
And in the business, I'm very big into Facebook, but I don't do Instagram and I don't do Twitter. But
I have an Instagram account, but that's because my daughter sends pictures over it. Other than that, I really don't do much with that.
But you're on Twitter, and
2,500, yeah, I have no idea how I got them. Some people live and die by how many followers they got. I look at it and go, wow.
Right.
Cool.
So followers, but are people writing you on Twitter?
Well, they make posts that come up on my thing.
They do.
I get some direct messages.
What do they say?
Most of them, a lot of them are authors trying to sell their book as well. And
I see.
And every now and then you get somebody that says, I retweeted something, and they go, oh, thank you for retweeting and stuff like that.
All right. So but you're not on Twitter. You're not actually allowed to put the cover of your book.
Yes, I can. Yeah, I just copy paste it.
Oh, I see. But they only allow a certain amount of words.
I don't know how, if you copy paste it, I don't know how that works. But if I don't put a real big introduction to it, I can copy the book thing from the ad title from Facebook on there, and some of it shows up. Doesn't always on Amazon. I'm not sure how that works. I don't know what they count as figures. Like I said, I don't know what I'm doing on Twitter.
Okay,
I'm just doing
it's interesting because I'm telling you that I haven't done it, and I guess because some of the people who are using Twitter I don't respect, and so I didn't want to even get involved in it.
I don't.
But maybe I need to do something.
I don't do political things on Twitter.
No, right. And maybe I should do that for our authors or for our advertisers or people. I hadn't really thought about it.
Yeah.
See, by your coming here today, you may have just made a difference in what that's like.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, the only reason I jumped on it was a couple of people said, you ought to advertise on Twitter. Oh, okay.
Well, that's good. Oh, see, thank you, Doug Breeden. I love the fact that you've done this. So now I know we've talked about this before, and it sounds like the next book. I know you're doing a blog. The next book maybe will be your daughter. What's your daughter's name?
Catherine.
Catherine.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about Catherine. I'd love to meet Catherine. Is there any opportunity you could bring her here to the radio show sometime?
I'd have to figure out when she's going to be in town for more than a day or two.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where is she?
She's in Arbondale.
Oh, you said Arbondale.
Yes,
and I don't know where that is.
That's south of Lakeland.
Oh, okay.
Near Tampa.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I when you said that, I didn't really understand what you were saying.
It's out in the middle. It's in Polk County.
I see. No. Well, that would be a little difficult. But even with cerebral palsy, she's very clear. She speaks clearly?
Oh, yeah. She speaks very clearly.
Well, what we could do is have you on the show and then have her call in.
Oh, okay. We probably could arrange that.
Maybe we could do that.
Yeah.
See how she would feel about it. I'd love to hear about what she does.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds pretty interesting. How'd she get involved in that?
I don't know. She, in high school, decided that counseling is what she wanted to do. She's a very good listener. All of her friends used to call her. She even had one of her guy friends' exes call her one day to talk about things, and she was like, what is this? I'm going to make money doing this.
That's really terrific. So, as a young child, she was this was one of
Yes,
those things.
she was with it from birth. She had to do some operations, which were all done through the Shriners, which is if you're
I know
ever
it
in
is.
Tampa,
I've heard
visit
about it.
the Shriners Hospital there. It's a wonderful place. And like I said, she went to I call it the junior college. They now call it Palm Beach State.
Yeah, I know.
And then she finished her BA and master's at Southeastern University, which is in Lakeland.
Absolutely wonderful that she did that. So I guess this has been really terrific, and maybe we can think about that. And she's just doing this with people with addictions.
Right now, she's working with drug addicts. Sometimes she's thought about moving into other fields, but right at this present time, she's working with drug addicts.
Is she married?
No.
But she could be, couldn't she?
Yeah,
she just
could
this
be.
isn't something she wanted to be.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Sounds like you're quite a human being, and you've done a lot of nice things. And thank you for helping me think about Twitter.
Okay. I'm glad to help out.
And so maybe we'll talk again soon. And good luck with your book, and we'll see if we can get a e-blast out for you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Josh.